MPH Sports Podcast. Talk sport and property with sports people discussing their careers and how property played a part in it.
Adam Webster, welcome to Talk Sport and Property. How are you doing?
Very well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for opening our second series.
I listened to pretty much all of them, I think. I find it quite interesting. So, yeah, it's a pleasure to be on, mate.
Yeah, thank you. So we can't ignore the fact that we're right in the middle of the Euros and we've got the big quarter-final tomorrow. We're recording this on Friday the 2nd. How you found the football?
Yeah, no, it's been good. I didn't get too involved in like the group stage games. Scotland game was, but yeah, obviously the Germany game was pretty special, and I never even like contemplated going to Wembley, but I had a few of my mates that went, and just from like seeing like the videos and stuff, I was absolutely gutted I never went. So yeah, I might I'm going to try and look to get tickets for the semi-final, I think, if we get there. So
yeah,
no, it's been good.
It looked absolutely carnage, didn't it?
It looked amazing, yeah.
Me and a group of friends went down the local pub actually, and it was just, the atmosphere was fantastic. I've got all my family round tomorrow. So we've got I've now got a fridge full of beer, a fridge full of food. The flags will be going up. Yeah. England shirts will be on. The songs will be booming.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I know you're a little bit precious for time. Should we crack on?
Yeah, let's do it.
Right. So just to remind you, and I know you're aware of the process, we're going to spend the first half of this pod talking about you and your career. Then I've chucked some cheeky questions in there just to get some more information out of you. Then we're going to talk about my favourite subject, which is property. So look, Adam, born and raised in the beautiful part of Chichester, 26 years of age, currently centre back at Brighton Football Club, 246 career appearances, 60 of those in the Premier League, 13 goals, and you've played for Portsmouth, Aldershot, Ipswich and Bristol City before your big money move down south to Brighton, which we'll, talk later about in the pod. But when did football start getting serious for you, mate?
Probably not till I was like 16. I joined Pompey when I was 11. I had a couple of setbacks before then. So I had a trial at Chelsea. I had a trial at Southampton first. And like my age group for Southampton were like unbelievable. They had Luke Shaw, Callum Chambers, Ward Prowse, Harrison Reed. I think that's most of them. But it was like obviously tough to get in. And then so I got rejected by them. And then I had a trial at Chelsea, got rejected. And then Pompey signed me when they found out that I had trial with Chelsea, and I'd already been rejected by Pompey. So when they found out I had trial at Chelsea, they signed me straight away. And so I was there from like 11. When I got to about 14, 15, I hated football. Like I loved playing cricket. I used to prefer playing cricket over football. And yeah, I wasn't really that into it. And then when I was in the under 16s, that's when it probably got serious because I started to enjoy it more. And then obviously I knew that it was a big season because I needed to work for a scholarship. And then, yeah, ever since then, I've obviously took it pretty seriously. But yeah, it wasn't always like that.
No, well, clearly Portsmouth came to their senses eventually. Do you often find in football, though, if you've been rejected by a club and they catch wind, that you've then had a trial at maybe a more, I mean, I'm a Chelsea fan, so more sort of, I'm not, that's no disrespect to Portsmouth, but, a more elite.
Yeah.
Are they thinking, hang on a sec, maybe we got this wrong?
Yeah, that's probably what happened. Because like I say, I had a trial at Pompey before and I probably wasn't up to it anyway. So they turned me down. But then I used to do like the step below the academy. So I used to be training with them. And then we played against the academy and I played really well. And then after that, that's when they signed me.
Right.
So yeah, that probably does happen like that.
Okay, well, you signed scholarship at Pompey and experienced your first taste of first-team football under the management of Steve Cottrell in a friendly. Good manager?
Yeah, it was good with me. Like I was only 16 at the time. I'd only been full-time, like as a scholar, first-year scholar, about a month before I started training with the first team. And back then, like our first team was decent. Like the squad was class. Like the wage bill would have been huge, and because we just come back down from the Premier League and we had some like big players like Carnu, like someone like him playing Pompey still, and I was training him. It was mental.
Does that not help you though? Because obviously you being at centre back, Carnu being
you're
now marketing, right?
Yeah. I remember I tried to like give him a bit once, and he was like the strongest man ever. And because you looked at him and think he wouldn't be that strong, he was so strong. He was unbelievable. So yeah, I'd only been training with the first team for like a month, and it was actually we went to play Real Betis in the first international break, so that would have been September, because it got cancelled in pre-season because of the rain. It was raining too much. They were meant to come over and play us, but because it was waterlogged, they had to cancel it. So they rescheduled it for September, and they took like four of us young lads, and I was the youngest. So I came on and played about 15, 20 minutes, and we lost about 5-1. They were incredible. But yeah, it was a great experience to be around like the first team environment so quickly, because I never expected to be involved with them after like a month, 2 months of being in the building. So that was September time, and then January I made my debut under Michael Appleton, and that was again I was always training with the first team. So obviously, when you're a scholar, you get like Christmas off, and I didn't get Christmas off because I was training with the first team every day. So I used to drive. Joel Ward used to take me in every morning because he lived just down the road. So I'd get dropped to him, and then he'd take me in. So he looked after me, and yeah, it was amazing to be like involved at such a young age.
Wardy's he's such a great guy, isn't he? You can probably see his shirt hanging up on the wall.
Yeah, there it is.
Next to Scotty's. But yeah, how important was that? Because Wardy's probably only 5 years older than you, maybe 4 or 5 years.
5.
Yeah, so just that little bit of an age gap there, and that bit of experience taking you in. What did that do with those early sort of weeks and months whilst you were getting that first team experience? I mean,
yeah, it was massive because like obviously I was 16, 17, and Wardy was probably one of the youngest in the team as well. And him and Jason Pearce were brilliant with me, and they were pretty close at a time as well. And they were always really good with like the young lads, and made you feel welcome because, like I said, there were some big characters in the team and some big players, big egos. So it was nice to have someone that didn't have a big ego and would welcome you with open arms.
Yeah, that's class. I want to talk about, I'm a big debut fan.
Yeah.
Your debut was West Ham.
Yeah.
Was that home or away?
Yeah, at home.
At home. Now, Portsmouth is probably one of the only, was it Fratton Park, one of the only grounds I actually haven't been to actually.
Oh, wow.
I've never been. But having watched it on TV for so many years, it's one of those grounds where the crowd is very much on you, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what is that like as a player on your debut, West Ham, big game? Because they come across quite unforgiving at times, but when things are going well there, you're fully back. But I guess you're going to hear every single word. I mean, was you a nervous player during those sort of?
Yeah, I probably was. I think.
Did you feel that nerves in the dressing room and stuff?
Like the week, probably a week or 10 days before, I was on the bench for the first time against Chelsea in the FA Cup, and I've never been so nervous in my life. But then when you get on the pitch, I was absolutely fine. I remember I got on the pitch and I came on at right back, and Liam Lawrence got the ball off centre half and he passed it to me, but he literally like wobbled it to me, and it could have easily gone under my foot and gone out of play. And I'm just thinking, while it's coming, I'm just make sure you control this. And like, luckily I did. And then after he passed, he was like, sorry, mate, like didn't mean to do that. But yeah, like when you get out there, it was absolutely fine. But like you say, at Fratton Park, the fans are so close. It's amazing when things are going well, because it's literally like having an extra man or 2 extra men. But when they're not going so well, it's pretty hostile. And to be fair, I experienced both sides of it. So, but yeah, no, you definitely need to get yourself down there. So it's a great place to go and watch a game of footy. Well,
Sean Williams has just signed for him, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
So I might have to go and watch him. We've just bought him in a little investment. So
okay, nice.
Go and watch him down there. Okay, so look, in August 2013, you were sent out on loan to Aldershot. It looked like initially just till January, but then you were recalled. I think obviously you clearly made a big impression, making, I think, 24 appearances. How was that loan for you, Adam? And how do you think that maybe contributed towards your, success today?
Yeah, at the time I was gutted, because I remember we were playing in pre-season, and yeah, like I thought I'd have a chance of obviously playing with the first team because I'd been around it for longer than most of the other lads coming through. And when I got told that I was going on loan, I was absolutely gutted. And yeah, I didn't really want to be honest, but it definitely helped me so much. And I got to play, like you say, 24, 25 games at centre back. And I hadn't done that before. And I was only 18. So I was 18 going to the conference, which was massive. And obviously taught me a lot on how to be a proper centre half against proper men. So it was huge for my development. It's one of them things where I didn't want to do it, but looking back now, it helped me so much. And I'd always encourage young players to go out and play men's football, even no matter what level it is, because, you know, the way the game is now, you know, like the under 23 setup is a bit false, and nothing compares to playing against proper men who are, you know, playing for their mortgages and playing for their rent. So
I think
it helped me grow up a lot as a person as well, because we had a little car school from Portsmouth, from like some of the Southern lads, and they really helped me like grow up, and just simple things. And that was huge for me as a person off the pitch, more so than on the pitch as well. So yeah, it was definitely a great experience. And I still speak to a few of them boys now, and it's it's really nice.
Oh, that's brilliant, mate. After 67 appearances for Portsmouth, on the 6th of June, you signed for Ipswich Town, an undisclosed fee. Do you mind maybe sharing with us the reasons behind the move? Were there other options at the time?
Yeah, so that was in the summer. So that was when the season just finished. So we were in the playoffs the season before in League Two, and that season we played Ipswich in the FA Cup. So we drew 2-2 away at Portman Road, and we battered them. They were lucky to get a draw, to be honest. But then obviously we had the replay at Fratton Park, and they weren't that bothered about the FA Cup. So they brought down like a second 11 pretty much, and we battered them again. And I played really well both games. And they tried to buy me after that in the January. But because we were in the playoffs in League Two, that Pompey obviously didn't want to let me go because we thought we had a good chance of getting promoted. So yeah, anyway, we got in the playoffs. I got injured in April, so I'd done my ankle pretty bad. Anyway, we lost in the semi-final in the playoffs, and literally like the day later, it was all done. I was ready. The deal was done. So I flew up there and we got it signed. I don't know if there was any other interest. I'm not sure, but I didn't really care, to be honest. I wasn't really. I wanted to go to Ipswich. Obviously, it was a Championship club that had been in the Championship for years, and a stable club with a good manager in Mick McCarthy. And yeah, I was absolutely buzzing to get a chance to play in the Championship properly. Obviously, I made my debut in the Championship, but it wasn't the same as going there and playing every week. So, you know.
You mentioned your debut. I mean, you didn't have to wait very long. I think you had a home win immediately against Barnsley, and you got your first goal for the Tractor Boys a couple of months later against Birmingham. You clearly felt quite settled there. And I mean, even just sort of watching you talk about that, I can tell that was a move you really wanted and a club you wanted to play for.
Yeah, I was settled pretty quickly there, to be honest. And that was obviously like my first experience of moving away from home. So yeah, I was there for 2 years. I bought a house after a few months and lived in the house for 18 months, and then I was off again.
Don't get onto the property section just yet.
Sorry, jumping ahead. But no, I loved it there. I loved my time there. I actually liked the area. There's not that much to do that area, but it is a really nice place to live, and like the commute to London wasn't too bad. It was only about an hour on the train. That helped, and yeah, like the drive home was a couple of hours, 2.5 hours. So it wasn't like it was a million miles away from my family, and I actually really enjoyed it. Had a few injuries while I was there over the 2 years, which stopped me from really kicking on there. But yeah, I loved it, and it's a great place to play football again.
You played 51 times there, including 29 in your first season, before signing for another Championship side in Bristol City for a £3.5 million fee with a potential rise to £8 million. I mean, what made you join Bristol? Why did the club let you leave? Because clearly they saw massive potential in you from Pompey.
Yeah.
Clearly developed you to that next part of your career. Or was it maybe just the fee that was too attractive to let?
Yeah, good question, to be fair. I wouldn't have been able to leave if Mick McCarthy was still there. He'd left at the end of that, just before the end of that season.
Yeah.
Because it was getting really toxic for some reason. He'd done a great job on the budget he had and everything, but the fans wanted him out because he'd been there probably 5 or 6 years. So anyway, yeah, he obviously wasn't in charge anymore. So we had a new manager come in, Paul Hurst, and yeah, I guess it was the fee. I came back for pre-season I think I was there for 2 days, 1 or 2 days, and the manager said to me, like, obviously I knew it was all going on. But the manager said to me, look, like, I would like to work with you, but the fee gives me a chance to bring in my own players. And obviously I was buzzing at that because it made it pretty straightforward. But obviously in fairness, because of Mick McCarthy leaving, I saw Bristol as a step up because of the way they were going. They were sort of knocking on the playoff door every season. And from playing at the stadium since they redone it, it was amazing. It was such a nice stadium, and yeah, that they sold it to me pretty quickly, to be honest. But yeah, if Mick McCarthy was still in charge, there's probably no way he would have let me go, because he said he wanted to offer me a new deal before he left. But then obviously he left, so it never happened. But yeah, it was quite lucky, to be honest, because I probably got out at the right time. And for my development, going to Bristol, they were all about developing players, and that was the first season where I'd played every game. So I played 47 games there, and every season prior to that, I'd always had a little injury or a little muscle strain and stuff. So they really worked with me on getting strong and doing everything right, and that was huge for my career.
It sounds like you definitely made the right move at the right time. Big question though, if Mick McCarthy would have stayed, would you have gone?
Probably not, no, because he wouldn't have let me, and two, I probably wouldn't have wanted to go as much because I liked playing under him. You knew what you were going to get, and yeah, like I say, I was settled there, and I certainly wouldn't have been going to knock on his door and telling him I wanted to leave, because he'd have probably knocked me out. But no, it would have been a straightforward, definitely. So yeah, I'm probably a bit lucky that I got the chance to go so easily, and I know that a couple of other lads that were there at the time didn't manage to get out as easily as I did. So yeah, I was probably a bit fortunate, but thankfully it all worked out for me.
Well, those 14 months at Bristol City, you also experienced winning Player of the Season too, might I add. It seemed to be a huge stepping stone again for you, attracting a massive 4-year deal from Brighton Football Club for a fee in the region of about 22 million. I mean, that is a remarkable story, Adam. I just want to sort of strip that back, because we've only had, that must have all been within about 4 seasons. Going from...
Yeah, I was at Ipswich 2 years, Bristol 1 year, yeah, so 3 years really.
Were you aware of your own ability during these sort of transitional seasons? And what made you become this player that was sent out to Aldershot and then 3 years later, marking some of the best centre forwards in the world? Yeah,
I think I was always aware of my ability. I think I'd played for England like under 18s, under 19s when I was obviously 18, 19. So I was always aware that, I could potentially play in the Premier League, and obviously that's what my dream was. But it was just about a case of being able to show that. And when I was in League Two at Pompey, it was hard because I was playing right back most of the time and wasn't being able to showcase what I could do in my best position. So yeah, it was just a case of doing the work, and like I feel like I worked my way up. I played in every league, the top 5 leagues, and yeah, it wasn't an easy process for sure. But when I got to Bristol, and like I say, when I played every game, that gave me the chance to show everyone what I can do week in, week out, instead of getting like an injury after I'm playing well and stopping my progress, if anything. So
I've always enjoyed our conversations. You appear to be a very sincere, humble man, Adam. We've never met, have we actually?
No, not yet.
So we only ever chat via WhatsApp and over the phone and stuff. And I remember obviously called you the other week saying how much I've really enjoyed doing my research on you. And it's a real sort of a rags to riches story. You've absolutely grasped every opportunity that I think has ever been presented in front of you and really worked for it. And there's a huge amount of admiration for you, mate. I want just from a business element, I love this sort of stuff and I negotiate for a living. So do you mind maybe explaining to me the process of how a £20 million move happens? Like, where do you meet? How does that all come about? Do you meet the manager? How much are you involved? I know your agent, and he's a great guy. Can you share with us the process?
Yeah, very, very stressful process it was as well. Jesus. So actually, at the start of that summer, Aston Villa bid for me, and they've obviously, I'm chatting with my agent. They bid, I think, like 12 million, and I'm thinking, wow, like that's enough. Like, surely I'm going. And so I went to see the manager at Bristol. I was like, look, like it's a chance for me to play in the Premier League. It's Aston Villa, it's a massive club. Like, I want to go. Obviously, they rejected it, and then nothing else happened. So I was a bit gutted, and then I found out that Brighton wanted me, and like, I couldn't believe it because location-wise, like I'm from Chichester, and obviously Portsmouth is 20 minutes, Brighton's 40 minutes. So it's the dream move, basically, to play in the Premier League, and I get to go home at the same time. So when I found out that, I couldn't believe it, and I didn't really believe it until it obviously happened. And obviously you're on the phone to your agent all the time, and it's telling you that this bid's going in, this bid's going, and I couldn't believe that Bristol kept knocking it back. So that was probably the toughest period, one of the toughest periods of my career, because I thought that Bristol kept telling me they weren't going to sell me at any cost. So I thought that even though Brighton kept bidding and kept going up, and I was like, well, surely this is going to happen now. And it just never did, and it dragged out for so long. I think I signed in the end a week before the season starts. So obviously it didn't get right to deadline day, but for me, because it was going on for probably 5 or 6 weeks, it was the most stressful 5 or 6 weeks of my life, because obviously it was a chance to play in the Premier League. I'd had a great season at Bristol, and I'm realistic in the sense that if I know that it might not always be like that, and I might not always play that well, I might get an injury or something like that. So I was always realistic to the sense that this is my chance. I've got to take it now. Otherwise, it may not come around again. So I was obviously trying to do everything I could to go and join Brighton. And it's all sort of through your agent, through like, you're not really involved in it. You're just listening to everything, and you can't do anything, obviously, really. So, yeah, I mean, I can sleep anywhere, literally anywhere. And at the time, I could not sleep one bit. Like, I was having to get sleeping tablets off the doc because I was so stressed and stuff. And obviously Bristol did well for their point of view. Obviously they could have taken the bid earlier on, but I think, yeah, they didn't. They could have acted a bit better for me, and yeah, they dragged it out quite a lot in the end. And it was, yeah, like I say, it was a very stressful time.
I can understand why, because naturally, you had an emotional connection to the club, the fans. You've won Player of the Season.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in a position where you're forcing a transfer request. But in the same breath, you can understand that they want to keep hold of an asset that might be worth 20 million today, but actually another season on could be 30.
Yeah. But it was one of them, like, I didn't want to do that, but at the same time, it was getting to that point because, like I said, like I may never get the chance to play in the Premier League again. And previously, when Bristol had developed players, they'd sold them. Like the season before I joined, they sold Joe Bryan, Bobby Reid to the Prem, and they weren't really massive fees, or they even sold. But I think Bobby went to Cardiff, who's like a rival. So it was like, for me, it was like I couldn't get my head around it that they wouldn't let me go still, and they were almost like holding me hostage. It was honestly a bit like that. And obviously you're chatting with the teammates at Bristol, and like none of them could believe it and stuff. So finally, we got there in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the move happened. That's the good news. The move happened, and you had your Premier League debut away to Manchester City. I mean,
yeah.
You want to talk about that result with me? Reality check.
Yeah. So obviously, I signed a week before the season. I didn't play the first 3 league games, and that probably helped me more than anything, because sometimes when you get chucked into a new environment, it can be quite tricky, and that definitely helped me settle in a little bit more. So yeah, when it did come around and it was Man City away, the gaffer pulled me on the Thursday and said that you're going to be playing. And I was like, oh, like I was obviously buzzing. And then on the Friday, I wasn't in the shape. So I thought, oh, maybe he's changed his mind. And then obviously he didn't, like I was playing. And we conceded after about a minute. So that didn't help. But I say it, like we actually played really well. Like we actually played some good football that day. And to go against Man City away, we actually played well. The scoreline obviously was 4-0. But yeah, I thought I played well from what I was asked to do and stuff. And yeah, obviously Man City away, it doesn't get much harder than that. So it was probably quite good actually, because it was like there was no pressure for us to go out there and win. So I could just go out there and play how I play my game. And for your first game, that's probably all you can ask. And
it was only a few weeks later you beat Spurs in a 3-0 win. Anyone that beats Tottenham in my eyes is ledge. And you also scored your first goal for Brighton away to Villa. Did you feel that you were adjusting and starting to meet, club's expectations, your expectations in those sort of first few months?
Yeah, I think so. I think I started really well when I first came in. Started really well. Like I said, I scored my first goal, and obviously I dreamed of scoring in the Premier League. And when I did, I was absolutely buzzing. So yeah, I feel like I started really well, and then I hit a bit of a sticky patch, and then I struggled for a bit of form. And sort of probably from like December to, not December, maybe January time to March time, it was a bit of a tricky bit of form for me. Then obviously the lockdown happened and COVID happened, and that probably helped us more than anyone in the league because we hadn't won in about 3 months from the end of December, I think it was, to like March. So it was obviously when the lockdown hit, we hadn't won for that whole time. So it gave us a chance to all have a break. And when we came back, we won our first game, and then we didn't really look back from there, really. But yeah, as I started really well when I first came in and then struggled a bit, and yeah, I found it tricky, to be honest.
But your first season, 31 league appearances, 3 goals, 1 assist, 5 clean sheets. You must look back on each season and reflect on your own performance and how you did. But you must have been really happy with that, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think to play 31 games, I was available. I only missed 2 games the whole season. So yeah, to play that many games, obviously score a few goals, and obviously to keep us up pretty comfortably in the end. Yeah, I was happy with that. And then yeah, obviously at this season I wanted to kick on, and definitely feel like I did that again this year. Yeah.
Well, I want to ask how life's been with you at Brighton, and I also want to just say how much I loved that goal on the last game of the season against Manchester City. It looked like you enjoyed that celebration too, Adam.
Yeah, I did, definitely. Because that was obviously my first goal this season, and that was our last home game. So obviously it was the last home game. It was the first time that the fans had properly been back. I think it was about 8,000. So there was quite a lot. Obviously we were 2-0 down. They were down to 10 men. So that was to equalise. And it was also my little girl's first game. So obviously she wouldn't remember it. She was only about 6 months at the time. But yeah, it was pretty special for that because it was her first game, and managed to score my first. And that was my first home goal as well. All my other goals came away from home. So it was a pretty special evening all around, to be honest. And whenever I score, I get so excited. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I just smile and scream, come on.
It's a special moment though, isn't it? Even that reflection to, Raheem's goal and Kane's goal the other night. Even these guys, they're just, they score professionally for a living.
Yeah.
They're all going absolutely bananas, It just takes over you.
There's no feeling like it, honestly. Like, even as a defender, like, it's when you score a goal, it's just, and especially a goal that means something, like it is, there's no feeling like it.
No, fair play. And you're clearly enjoying life at Brighton though, right?
Yeah, it's been amazing.
Amazing. Well, look, I think this is a perfect end to wrap up the first half of the pod, and let's crack into some questions. Are you ready for me?
Ready, yeah.
Adam, who did you support growing up?
I supported Leeds growing up, believe it or not.
Did you? Well, connection.
Just because my dad did, so I sort of followed him. And yeah, it's a strange one, but yeah, just followed him. And
brilliant.
Yeah.
Your best career highlight?
Probably the Man City goal at home. what we just spoke about. Yeah, pretty special.
It was. This is a hard question. The favourite club you have played for?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I've enjoyed my time at every club that I've played for, but I think probably Brighton, just because I'm back home, I'm playing in the Premier League, and yeah, I'd say Brighton. Best
player you have played with?
There's two, Lewis Dunk and Lallana. Yeah, they're both pretty good, and yeah.
Dunkey's been such a reliable player for
Dunkey. Don't get the credit he deserves, to be honest, for how good he is, and obviously Lallana's won the Champions League, won the Prem, played however many games for England, and yeah, he when he came in, he really drove our standards up every day, and yeah, that he obviously showed what it takes to get right to the top.
What a boost that must have been for the squads when.
Yeah, because we heard about it probably the end of last season, and we were all like, wow, we were all buzzing. So yeah, them two.
The best player you have played against?
This question is so hard because obviously there's players that you play against who are amazing players, but when you play against them, maybe you don't think that they're actually that special. Or yeah. Well, obviously,
give me a centre forward that you've personally found very difficult to play against, as opposed to generally is.
Jimenez. I found Jimenez. Yeah, he was very good. Jimenez, even someone like Chris Wood, and someone like they're handfuls, and they're like
running.
Yeah, exactly. And they work hard. They've got ability, and them afternoons can be trickier than when you come up against, say, Aguero or Harry Kane, because they don't really get involved too much and stuff. And well, not so much Harry Kane, but Aguero especially, not really bothered until he gets in the box and bang, it's a goal. Yeah.
That's a really good answer. A centre back you wish you could have partnered up with?
Probably JT, I'd say. Just I remember when I was on the bench against
Chelsea
in the FA Cup, my first involvement, he played and he was spraying diags with his left foot, right foot, and then he headed one ball and it went literally 60 yards. And I just thought, wow, that is unbelievable. So yeah, probably JT.
Yeah, I spent many seasons in the Matthew Harding lower watching him play. He called me recently and it was a bit of a surprise. So
yeah.
I went into complete fangirl mode. Oh my God, how do I try and keep myself?
Yeah.
Great answer. Would you, and I know you're 26, so this is, we've got 10 years to think about now, but I'd like to know, would you ever go into coaching or management? Is that maybe part of your plans?
Not I don't think management, but maybe coaching and sort of being, I don't know, a first team coach or a 23s coach, helping that.
They are different roles, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think you've got to be a certain type of character to be a manager, and I'm probably not ruthless enough. So, yeah, I don't think that's for me. But I don't know if coaching's for me. I think it's something that maybe comes with age a bit more. I think 5 years ago, if you asked me, I said no chance. Now I'm not saying no chance, I'm saying maybe. So who knows, maybe in 5 years.
Yeah, I'll get you on, series, 10, 5 years time ago. Are you ready now? Are you thinking about that, actually?
Might be a different answer then. Yeah.
Adam, a fixture you always enjoyed planning? What's the one fixture next season you're thinking, I can't wait for that?
I always like playing Tottenham away because the stadium's incredible. And my uncle's a Tottenham fan, so I like going, and I scored against them last season there. The Palace one's an obvious one. That's always that gets a lot of attention and it's a good fixture to play in. Yeah, I'd probably say the Palace one mainly.
It'll be interesting playing at Ellen Road with a full capacity next season.
Yeah, it will be, yeah.
A Leeds fan and all that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's sort of...
Your dad's in the crowd.
Yeah, I played there a few times, so it's don't know, I was still class myself as a Leeds fan when I was younger, but I don't really... No.
If you wasn't a footballer, what do you think you would have gone on to have done?
Probably either a personal trainer or a PE teacher, something like that. Something involved in fitness and yeah.
Yeah, good answer. And lastly, how's your golf?
Mate, I've never played golf. Like I've literally, yeah, honestly, the amount of questions that, or the amount of people that have been telling me lately, like, you need to get into it. Like, it's actually bizarre. Like, it's actually mad how many people have said it to me. I've been down the driving range a few times, but I've never actually played around the golf.
Well,
and now I'm like, I know.
Invest in some clubs, just some lessons.
Yeah, but mate, I know how much time and effort you got to put in to get good, and I'd either be addicted to it or I just wouldn't do it because I know how far I've got to go.
We'll get you into it, mate. We'll get you.
I will have to get into it soon, I'm sure, but not yet.
Brilliant. Well, listen, let's come back and talk property, my man.
Talk Sport and Property Podcast, sponsored by MPH Sports Property Academy. Download the app today from the App Store or Google Play by typing in MPH Sports, the trusted go-to app for sports people looking to buy or learn about property.
Adam, welcome back, mate. As I mentioned earlier, we were introduced to each other via your agent, but he's got a passion for property, you've got a passion for property. When did you first buy your home or first investment?
So I was actually buying a property when I was at Pompey. So I would have been 20, 21. Mm-hmm. But then it was all going through. Then I obviously moved to Ipswich, so I pulled out and didn't go through with it. So then I'd joined Ipswich in June or July, and then I'd moved into my house in December. So yeah, I was 21. I've still actually got that house now. So yeah, 21. So it was quite a young age.
So talk me through that part of the process for you, because at 21, that's quite a young age to buy your first home. Were your parents just encouraging you? Was the club behind you? Was it an area that you were familiar with or unfamiliar with? How did that all come about?
I wouldn't say I was familiar with it, but I just from being around like the first team for a few years, there would be players that would say, look, you need to buy a house, you need to save money and put it away for a house. So me and my missus were saving for ages while I was at Pompey, and it was tough because obviously we were putting everything that we was earning into savings for a deposit. So I would say it was quite a long process, probably for about 15 months or so, saving to get a house, and then obviously we moved, and then I don't think it was anything the club ever pushed. Like that's probably never happened, but it was more from other players around me and stuff.
What did you buy?
I bought a 4-bed sort of family home and like a new build estate classic. So it was a nice house, still is quite a nice house, and I've still got it now. I'm actually trying to sell it, but it's fallen through about 3 or 4 times now. But every time it falls through, it goes back on the market and I sell it within like a day. So it's obviously a nice enough house that people want, but I think I've just been a bit unlucky with who I've been selling it to.
Why have you made the decision to sell it?
Because I'm back down here now. I don't think it's... I get quite good rent on it, but I think I would rather sell it and then invest into something else, which maybe the yield's better, or something that's probably more... It's probably better for the long term.
I think that's the right thing. I think the common type of purchase is buying those family homes when you move clubs, because it's a natural thing to do. The problem is when you do move clubs, those assets don't normally become good long-term assets to have.
No, exactly.
Because the rents are quite low, the values are quite high, and you hope that the capital growth does kick on. But if it doesn't, you'd be best off maybe just, as you're doing, selling it and exploring where else you could reinvest it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like wherever I've gone, I've always said, I don't want to rent, because if I ended up staying there for 3 or 4 years and I've been renting every year, then I would look at the money I've spent on rent and lose my head at how much I've wasted on rent. But from how it's actually happened with my journey, like I've not been long enough in one place to justify wasting that money. So I've ended up probably wasting a bit more in terms of stamp duty and things, because I did it at Bristol. So I moved to Bristol and then I bought a bigger house, which was probably more for the long term. And then I moved in February and I left in August. So I was only in it 6 months. And I wasted, I don't know, 30, 40 grand in stamp duty. And it's like, looking back now, looking back in hindsight, I shouldn't have done it. But at the time, it was a lovely house and I thought I was going to be there for maybe 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So you just never know, really.
It's hard though, isn't it? You know, because you want and obviously you're a husband and a dad and a family sort of guy. You want to get everyone settled around you as well. You know? And I think that's really important for any player, which we might talk about a bit later on. But the natural thing to do is to start, you know, having a look at your local market, trying to identify a compatible home that you're all going to be happy in. But you were at a very young transitional age where you're so ambitious and you had that self-belief that another club was going to come in.
Yeah.
Maybe it would have been right just to have rented for a year.
Yeah, I know.
Get to know the area.
Yeah.
Know what it is that you and your family do want. Save up a bit more money. And if you feel that actually you're going to sign maybe an improved contract instead of being 2 years, maybe 4 years or 5 years, whatever it might be, that's when you kick on and buy. And that for me, I talk to so many different players, particularly in this sort of transfer window where, you know, the release list has come out and players are now talking to new clubs and my phone starts rattling off going, what do you think I should do? And naturally the thing is, we'll invest in property. So you've got to buy somewhere, but there's more questions to ask to make sure that the right answer is buy. Maybe it's okay to rent for 6-12 months.
Yeah, I know.
And this is why it's nice to highlight these sort of conversations, really.
Looking back now, I would have, obviously, if I'd have known that I would have been here for 2 years, here for a year, then I would have just rented. But obviously you don't know, and you do want to have your own sort of house as well at the same time. So it is a hard one. It is a tricky one.
The balance, isn't it, between stability short term and stability long term.
Yeah.
But how many properties have you got now?
So I just have this one and the Ipswich one, which is hopefully it will go through pretty soon. So this obviously just the one that I live in now and the Ipswich one.
Cool. And I know you mentioned this earlier, but I'm going to remind you again. But when I asked you to do this podcast, I love the fact you said, look, I've listened to them all. So listen, I'm back. So I couldn't have asked a better person to be in the first for series 2. But Adam, why is property so interesting to sports people? Because you like, don't you? And we've obviously had our conversation.
Yeah. I guess it's for when you finish playing, if anything. And you want that sort of that income coming in when maybe when you're retired or you're not working. And you want the houses to do the work for you, really. So I've been interested in it for years. Even when I was young, I was always like looking at houses and stuff. And like when I was a kid, I'm talking about like I want stuff to live there one day and stuff like that. And so I've always had an interest in it, I suppose. But from an investment point of view, you want it to sort of take care of itself and pay you when you're finished. And
I think what might make sense is that you've been around first team elite sports people since the age of 16, 17, that's 10 years now. Yeah. So when you're rubbing shoulders against, I suppose, young, wealthy players like yourself with ambition, naturally you follow a similar mindset. Look, I mean, we run these property workshops at sports clubs. In fact, I did one for the Brighton under-23s on a webinar not too long ago, actually.
Yeah.
Was that something you ever experienced at any of the clubs? Like maybe trying to get just some independent professional advice to think about property at some point?
No, I've never had it, but definitely would have helped me if I had it at Portsmouth or even Ipswich. I think it's so important for players to realise, because you know what some footballers are like, they don't really think about stuff and they always think that money's coming in when it's a short career and it's not always going to be like that. So I think more work probably needs to be done for the young lads coming through, because there's so many other distractions nowadays that they want to spend their money on. And
do you see that?
Yeah, you see it all the time. Like you say with like the 23s and that, like they've all got nice cars, they've all got, I don't know, nice, well, not nice clothes, but clothes that cost a lot of money and stuff like that. And you just think, well, you've got a good chance to get a head start and if you knew what you were doing with some of that money you had, then you could be flying, and later on down the line, you'd be thankful that you didn't waste your money instead of spending it on materialistic things and stuff that isn't going to earn you money. So I think definitely there needs to be more work done for that. But I think from a club's point of view, it's probably hard because they probably don't want to tell people how to spend their money and stuff. But
I think from a club, it's very difficult from a club's point of view to maybe bring in independent companies like us. I mean, thankfully, we're part of the Premier League Life Skills campaign again this year. We do stuff in the rugby and cricket and stuff like that. But it's hard because they might think they're influencing others to use us. Yeah. There's some risk attached to that, which I completely understand.
Yeah.
Thankfully, for those that have brought us in, whether it's first teams or under 23, it's not a sales pitch. So we're only encouraging footballers to consider property as some form of protection, as you say, about acquisitions. And there's different ponds for different fishes, whether you're buying something at 80 grand or 300 grand. It doesn't really matter as long as you buy the right investment. When you move from club to club, then obviously you bought some property. Did you rent temporarily or did you?
Yeah, so I've always rented for say 5 months, and then in that time I'd have found somewhere and then gone ahead with the purchase.
I suppose it helps with you having your good lady wife there doing a lot of the legwork for you whilst you're playing.
I mean, I wouldn't be able to do it without her, to be honest.
The amount of WhatsApp groups I'm in with the husband and the wife.
Oh, really?
It's easy. I can pick up the phone to her. And she's like, yeah, that'd be great. If you can arrange that for me, that'd be superb.
I don't think I'm that bad. But,
But in light of your big money moves, I know we mentioned this a little while ago, but from experience, how important is it to settle down?
It's massive.
Is it?
I think I was the first 2 weeks. It's hard when you first join a club because you're obviously trying to find somewhere to live. And I remember when I joined Brighton, there was literally nothing available for a while. So I was in a hotel for a couple of weeks, and the hotel was all right for a week or so. And then you want to start cooking your own dinner and stuff, and you don't want to just be confined to one room. So I was in a hotel for a couple of weeks, and I went and moved in with one of my mates who lived in Brighton for a week or so. And then something came up, and this house that came up, I was desperate to get in because I just wanted to get in it. It wasn't the best house. If I'd have waited maybe another week or two, I would have been happier in another house. But at the time, I just wanted to get in somewhere, get settled, get all my stuff down and, get settled. And then I can just focus on my football. So it can be tricky if there's stuff not available and things like that.
Yeah. Future plans. You and I have discussed some strategy over property investment. Since then, have you got any ambition and ideas and plans about building up a portfolio for the future?
Yeah, so I've just set up a property company because obviously the houses that I bought for are all in my name, and then obviously renting them out, it's not very, very good on the old tax front. So I've just set up a property company now, so I'm ready to go from that front. I guess I'm just waiting for the right things up, and I don't know. It's a tricky one because I don't, as much as I want to be involved, I don't want to be too involved. So I want, to.
Is this your way of asking me now to?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Helping the Websters. Yeah. Is that?
Yeah, I think so.
I've been waiting for this.
Yeah. So I guess it's just a matter of time before. I start my portfolio, I guess.
Just out of interest, is your wife behind the idea as well?
Yeah, definitely.
Investing your savings into property? Yeah,
definitely. Because, you need to have, we need to have stuff in, you can't just have everything in one, say stocks and shares and stuff. You need to have it divided amongst different stuff. And we like property, and it's definitely a route we want to go down and like say, build a portfolio and get that working for us so that, when we finish, then it looks after us and takes care of itself.
Maybe I need to get myself down to Brighton and we need to map this out.
Maybe you do, mate. Yeah, take a trip down. Not too far, is it?
No, not at all. I remember when Adam was at Liverpool, he invited me over to his house on a Sunday.
Yeah.
But because I had the kids' football, I'd like, Jamie at QPR, Chloe off doing her stuff as well. I couldn't get there.
Right.
I can't do Sunday, but any other day, not a problem. I didn't get another invitation.
Oh, no.
So look, if you could ask him just to say, Lee's coming over.
Yeah.
Right. He wants that meeting now.
Yeah.
Just out of interest, because I know the conversations I had with Adam, he loved his property, and I think he was with his dad at the time, and I love that sort of thing because I'm very close with my dad too. Is there any player that you know that's bang into his investments and properties? And
I think there's a lot of players, like I say, Ads is bang on it. He's right involved with it, and he's got quite a few properties. I think there's a few. Most of the lads do have a few different properties. I think Dunkey's lucky, well, not lucky, but his family are all like builders and tradesmen and stuff. So for him, it's quite easy for him to say buy a house, do it up, and move it on. So he's got a few as well. I think it's the closer you get with people, obviously, the more you find out about what they're doing and stuff. So I guess if you asked a lot of footballers, they'd have property, but it's just I'm not sure how many everyone has and stuff. But
it all comes down to it comes down to finding those sort of gems, really. I mean, if you
exactly.
run down houses and you've got the ideas of adding value, you can see the scope, and you've got local tradesmen that can do it at a cost. The thing is, at the moment in this market, as of today, the cost of materials and the cost of labour at the moment is just an absolute joke. Yeah. So trying to acquire the right properties at the prices you want to be paying against where the value is once you've added the value, you're almost at risk in falling into negative equity unless you're prepared to sit on it. Yeah, that's the real problem I'm finding in trying to acquire these. I mean, we were given two developments last night. The money is just insane what they want. And I'm looking at the GDV and I'm thinking, well, if you want that and it's going to cost that to build it, the percentage margins doesn't leave much for error. Yeah. And it's an expensive mistake if you get that wrong. Exactly, yeah. But they do come up, and there's other strategies as well. I mean, holiday lets are very popular at the moment. My worry is that just a short to medium term plan? Are holiday lets going to be the future? Maybe they are. When you can start going on holiday again, I guess it will probably die off a bit, won't it? It will. And that's why really at the moment, I think, the buy to let stuff is always going to be steady. And as long as the numbers work for you, then that's a very healthy plan to look at. But maybe I'll come down and see you both and we'll talk it through. Mate, I'm aware of the time. I know you've got to go and you'll pop into the club now. It has been an absolute privilege having you on, mate. I've thoroughly enjoyed today. Genuinely, mate, thank you so much for coming on. No, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. No, it's great, mate. I'll give you a call maybe next week and come on, England. Is it coming home? It's coming home, yeah. I believe it's coming home now, definitely. Mate, go and do what you got to do. All right, cheers, Lee. Thanks, mate. Cheers, mate. Ta-da, mate. Bye.
You've been listening to Talk Sport and Property. Visit the App Store and download the MPH Sports app today, or keep up with us over on Instagram.